Welcome back to my studio. Today we are going to talk about these Lisilinka. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. We're going to talk about these watercolors. I was lucky enough to get some for Christmas, and I think my husband went a little bit overboard, but I'm not complaining. So we're going to test these out. I haven't really used these at all, except on the swatch card. So I thought today maybe we could actually make something. And before we do that, I wanted to show you that these sets come with a little dropper, and that's how you activate these paints. So you can just add, a couple little drops and give it a minute and let it activate. And they also come in these beautiful iridescent foiled boxes, and they come also with a little card to show you what color is what. Now, mine also came with this envelope that has stickers you can put on the bottom of your palette, and it also comes with these swatch cards, which is really cool. A lot of time and thought went into these beautiful palettes, and they are a little bit pricey, but obviously you can see they're well worth it as far as the packaging and the design goes. And like I have swatched out, those cards, and the quality of the paint seems to be really good. So I thought that we could do a little bit of painting and make like a moon phase bookmark. And I'm going to use this palette right here, which is appropriately called Outer Space. So I thought it was perfect. And um, when I started filming this video, my mic was not on. So it is on now. And I really did not want to go back over the video and do a voiceover, so I decided just to start over. But I had already painted these in. But before I go any further, I want to just show you how I mapped this out really quick. I am not the kind of person that painstakingly measures everything out. I eyeball a lot of stuff, especially if it's something like a bookmark where I'm just playing. I try not to get too wrapped around the axles about things being perfect because nothing is. So I will eyeball center. I'll make a little mark for myself, a little bit of a line, and I knew that on this full moon that there's going to be, like three on each side, and then I have the new moon over here. So I just found half of each section. And then from this section, I found half and half. And then I did the same thing on this side. For my circles, you can definitely use one of these compasses, but I find that when you're trying to do small circles, it's really tight, and I think it's difficult. I resort um, I resort to my washi tape roll as often as possible. So I know most of us have tape or, the bottom of a candle or something like that we can use to make circle shapes. And once I got those laid out, I just annotated in here which side was the light side so that I don't get confused. And then I usually make a sausage out of my kneaded eraser, and I just roll it right on top to get rid of a lot of that excess graphite. This is by no means, like I said, going to be perfect. We're just doing this so that we can play with play with our paints here. So at that, and I wanted to show you how these paints paint and how they work and what they how they move. So I am using for the dark side of the moon. I'm using this one, and I'm not even quite sure which one is which. So that one is Uranus, and I'll be using Saturn, which I think is the gold. Um, that's Mars. So I'll be using the gold and this one to paint this. So once these are activated, you can see you've got this really beautiful pool of paint. And the one thing I did want to say, when as I've been painting this, is that these are not these are not your typical metallic watercolors. They're very opaque, and they're very rich. I think this would be a beautiful like accent to any piece. And I think at some point I might try a painting that is nothing but metallic. So we'll see. I also have some watercolor coloring books, and watercolor coloring books are great because you don't have to spend the time drawing something out, but you can test out your watercolors and learn new techniques because the paper is watercolor paper. May not be like super high quality, but um, I have a watercolor coloring book that is um, female faces, and it's really great practice if you want to do portraits. You can learn how to lay the watercolor in them, and it would actually be perfect for something like this too, if you just wanted to play around without a huge time commitment in drawing something. Okay, so I'm gonna continue painting these over here, and once it's dry, then I'll go back with the gold. Okay, so I have these painted, and yes, I screwed that one up. And I think I was talking and just mindlessly painted that. So I'm going to let this dry, and I thought we could move on to something else, maybe some organic shapes. This palette here is the autumn. I think it's called Autumn Glow, and this one is Indian Summer. So I wanted to try some of these colors, and this has been painted with just a light wash of, I think, whatever I had in my palette at the time. Um, so maybe we can use our pen here, and we can sketch in. I have a sepia colored micron pen, which are waterproof, which is nice. So maybe we can just make some little vines or something with some leaves, and then we can paint that. And we have to figure out which way we want this to go. And I think I'm going to make just some lines to start off with, to give myself like a little bit of a map here. And then we can start adding some of our leaves. And I'm going to keep I want the leaves to be a little bit bigger, just so that it's easy to fill in with the watercolor. And when I do something like this in pen, I'm just thinking about filling up um, the space and trying to get some movement in here. And I'm not going to add any veining or anything with my pen. I'm going to alternate some of these colors in here, I think, and see what happens. It's always a little bit tricky to draw on cold press watercolor paper just because of the texture. And I think I'm going to go back and I might thicken up some of these lines here for the stem. And we might be able to paint this in green. Okay, so I think I'm gonna grab a smaller brush. This is a size 0, and these are the silver black velvet watercolor brushes. Um, and I think I'm gonna alternate some of these colors, and I might do some little color like drop in, see how that works. So I think I'll start with this. And now I'm gonna grab a different color, maybe this red, and see how that works. I mean, these paints are really, like I said, they're very thick and opaque, and they have some body to them. I mean, there's a little bit of thickness, which is kind of cool. Let's see. Okay, drop this red in. Yeah, I like that. So you can really push this. You can push this paint around too, which is nice. But I really like that contrast between those two. So, Okay. So that was fun. And these flow into each other really nicely. I didn't think that they would. I don't know why, but they're really a treat to paint with. And the only thing is that you definitely need to keep these wet. They'll dry out, and then the paint doesn't want to come off the brush. So just make sure that you keep them wet with the little dropper. But yeah, I think that came out really cute, and these were like so much fun to work with. I'm going to switch back over now to. I'm just going to hold this up like that. I'm going to switch back over to the lunar cycle over here, the one that I messed up, and I'm going to finish that off with this gold, and that is Saturn, I believe. And I'm going to grab my bigger brush and start painting. Okay, so as I'm painting this, I'm thinking to myself, this is a perfect opportunity, since I messed this up, to try and experiment. I'm going to try to paint over this with gold, and I'm going to see how well that works. So um, it'll be a good thing to know for future reference. Um, if I make a mistake, we'll see just how well this will cover. Okay, I think I'm done with that. But I'm actually pleasantly surprised that the coverage was so good. These paints have a lot of body to them. They're thick, so they will cover if you make a mistake, which is really nice. And I love that depending on how you put this in the light, you get all of these really cool colors. Everything from purple to blue to even the gold has like a kind of like a rose gold feel to it in certain light. So that was a fun test. And so was this. I still have to do these, and I think maybe we can do another short bookmark. And I'll probably go back in and add maybe some little dots or stars to this. I think that would look really pretty, especially in gold. So this is, I have to say, this is probably my favorite palette. These are the kind of colors that I gravitate towards a lot. They're jewel-like colors, very boho, and uh, I I don't know what we can do with this. Maybe we can do some. abstract kind of flowers. So I'm going to get my pen out again, and I think I'm going to just make some really big flower shapes. And I'm not too worried about making a mess with my pen. If I mess something up, it's not a big deal because these paints have such good coverage that it really doesn't matter. Okay, that's a little wonky. It's a lot wonky actually. But that's okay because we're gonna do some painting, and we're gonna do all of these lines and stuff. I'm just using that as a guide, and we already know that these are great at coverage, so I don't have to worry about being super precise. So I'm just gonna start painting some of these in, and we're gonna see what this palette looks like. But I think it's gonna be pretty amazing. Okay, so I think I'm finished with this one. I got a little bit carried away. I wanted to see how I've got some white spaces in here that I'm seeing now. Um, as far as being able to see what you're doing, I have an overhead light, so I have a bit of a glare, and it's a little difficult to see wet paint, um, and a little difficult to see the shimmery paint. But if you hold it up, you can find the areas where you need to go back over, which is what I'm gonna have to do. Uh, but this was just a quick little experiment. I wanted to see how these colors kind of work together, and I like the overall palette, and I love the paint. The paint's wonderful. And as I was painting, I could think of all sorts of different ideas were coming into my head about how I can use this. Um, I will more than likely use these paints as more of accent. I love a gold accent on any piece instead of doing an entire thing in metallic paint. But I don't know. I might try it because I will say that this came out a lot more sophisticated, a little more elegant than I thought it would. I really like these colors, these muted autumn colors, and um, this was fun. This was just a fun little thing to do, and I can go back in, like I said, with gold and add some little details to it. So that's my rundown on these paints. I think they're wonderful. They're high quality. They cover well. I don't think you'll have any complaints. At least I don't. And if you have the opportunity to buy some, definitely try them out. Even if you just get a little three set one, and they do sell them in little singles. And we ignored this paint, so I'll try this one out later. But yeah, so that's it for today, and I will see you next week. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you were inspired by these metallic paints. I'll see you next week. Bye bye.